that is not successful. There's no longevity, didn't leave it in a good place, and how did he make people feel leaving that environment?
The amount of stuff we had to go through to get there was horrific at times.
Have you left it in a good position to continue that? Which I would say no with Eddie.
Eddie Jones did a good job as England head coach, a win percentage of 73%, the highest of any England coach.
Depends how you define good job.
Good job as an England head coach, I guess. Yeah.
Can I sit in the middle?
You can sit where you want, mate.
Explain why.
Yeah, you explain why. Go on.
Firstly, for me, it's about defining what success is. So, how I say that performance-wise, yes, he got performances and wins early on, first 2 years that we were involved in. Another sign of its success is how you leave that place. Have you left it in a good position to continue that? I guess legacy. Can they continue that success from what the foundations that you've left? Which I would say no with Eddie. Longevity of success. So he had it early on, but did it continue? No. So I would say that is not successful. And then there's the piece referring to this nice book there, which I still haven't been given a copy of.
You can have that one.
There's the piece of the whole environment and how it makes people feel. Do they want to be part of it? Does it get the best out of people? Does it develop people? Which is also a sign of success, which is different to the performance side, isn't it? So that's why I kind of sit in the middle. Yes, he got early on success, which was great to be involved in. Grand Slam, amazing. Six Nations, amazing. But then it dropped off, so there's no longevity. Didn't leave it in a good place. And how did he make people feel leaving that environment? So actually, I'm going to go more to this way because there's only one part that I think was successful, which is a very small part of the big picture.
Danny, let me pose a question back to you. Let me pose a great question. I think that's fantastic as well,
It's a
Brian.
great answer, that.
Brian touched on the early days of success from that you were both part of. Could anybody have taken that team that underachieved in 2015, which should have done far better? Could any good coach have got a lot out of that team?
I can't disagree with anything Brownie said. The reason I went there was because of where we were post 2015. We crashed out of a home World Cup in the group stages. Like, that's a big no-no. You can't do that. And I still stand by the fact I think that group could have won the whole thing that year. I think we had the talent in the room. No, I don't think many coaches could have come in at the time that Eddie did and done what he did. Like the first ever meeting, he came in and he said, I genuinely believe this group can win the World Cup in 2019. And then instantly you've got lads that are like, we just crashed out of a World Cup. But he had this belief and we believed in it, we bought into it, and we went on this 18-match unbeaten run, which is incredible. And like, obviously, the things that have been said but when you read the whole book, there is a balance, but a lot of the negative's been said. So I think he did a good job in getting that, but I completely agree with everything Brownie said. The way he left the England, it was a mess. It was a mess for a long time.
I think there's a slight contradiction in the sense that you've just acknowledged that the group at 2015 you thought was good enough to win it, so therefore, surely I asked the question, anybody coming in, anyone with a good record, anyone with a reasonable bit of coaching
Can I say something on that? I was going to say that I do agree he was the perfect man for the job because he had credibility and he had that experience. But then going to your point, I think it could have been any top coach, and it would have had to be that level of coach that Eddie was, but it probably could have been Michael Checker, for example. I'm saying him because I'm experiencing what he does at the moment, or Scott Robertson, someone like that, someone with that credibility that we needed, someone that tactical and technical knowledge that we needed at the time, just to make that next step, which we were severely lacking.
I think for all Eddie's flaws, if you look at the win and lose ratio, I think he's got the best ratio of any England coach has ever been. So if you looked at it purely on that, you'd go, well, he was a good coach. So that's probably what I'm basing it on, even though the amount of stuff we had to go through to get there was horrific at times.
I'd be intrigued to know. I'd be intrigued to know what that ratio is after the first 2 years. You know, after the bounce back.
Yeah, I think, however, he stayed too long.
England would be a better rugby team if they picked overseas players.
That's what we want.
Brownie, you start us off then. So, I think England would be more successful and a better team.
Yes, if we're talking about performance, as in they're going to potentially win more games. And the reason I say I agree, and they will be better, is because they'll have a bigger pool of players, and some of the players that are over there can add to this squad, which potentially might, affect their performance in a positive way.
You don't think Jack Willis is a good player?
It's an interesting debate. I've just always sit on the side of the fence that I think if you want to play for England, there's enough clubs over here that you can play for.
Can I come back with that? Anything like that? Can I come back?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
This is why I asked the question about performance, because we're saying, are they going to make them a better team in terms of winning? Whereas you're not talking about the performance. You're saying about the individual wanting to play for England.
Yeah. Right now, currently, I wouldn't have any of the players that are playing outside England in the England squad.
Let's take out your thoughts as a player who's had to make decisions, as everyone has. Just would it be a better performing team if you could pick everyone outside who are playing in France, etc.?
I think people could go and learn from different environments. Playing abroad, I think, has done wonders for South Africa. They've opened the doors up. I just sit on the fact, I think the coaches at the Premiership clubs, still got 10 Premiership clubs, there should be good enough coaches and good enough coaching to get the best out of England players, playing in England, having more access to them.
Would you say France is one of the best leagues in the world, if not the best, currently?
Yeah, it's got an unbelievable second division.
Would you say,
well.
That's fine, would you say Toulouse is one of the best teams in the world currently?
Yes.
So do you think someone that plays for them regularly, week in, week out, could come into the squad currently, and the way he trains, performs, push the other players in his position or around him to be better, which would then potentially feed into how England perform? In terms of performance, I'm talking about winning and losing.
I do feel that it could help them. You look at Blair Kinghorn for Scotland, playing for Toulouse, brilliant. I don't think Steve Walker would pick Jack Willis if he was playing in England. I don't think he's his type of player. So,
but he could push the other players to be even better.
He could, but yeah, I just don't see it. I think if they open the doors and they say go play anywhere you want, my problem with that would be everyone would leave, and then the Premiership. And I think the Premiership needs.
And that's what I agree with. That's why I said about performance, because I don't agree with.
Do you think that? So let me pose a question. So, would all of these players go and be starters though in the top 14?
No, and then would you get an en masse of players?
So the GIF rules are changing to being 18 players of a matchday squad. So it's only. Would you not say? It's only going to be certain players that.
Only certain ones. I think Premiership standards as a whole is down to what it used to be. Like, I think the superstars, the foreign superstars have gone. They're kind of headed back. The Red Rajas, the Pietals, the Esterhazens. There's not that many of them that have come in over here anymore. I think if you let the English lads go as well, then the Premiership standards.
But they wouldn't all go.
They
wouldn't all go. Realistically, would they? Would they?
A few of them would go. Japan would be flooded with them, I would say.
Yeah, potentially. I don't agree. I don't agree with them dropping the rule or not. I'm just solely looking at the performance side. That's why I came back at you with whether having those guys who are clearly great players, and I'm thinking of Sink as well. He could definitely add to this squad. I wouldn't say that in his position they've got embarrassment of riches at the moment. There's other players as well, but Faz would add if he could do both. So I'm not saying that about the rule is right or wrong. What I'm saying is if they allowed it, it could potentially, in terms of just performance, make it better.
England's 2016 Grand Slam win which you were both part of, was down to the squad that Stuart Lancaster built?
Is that your?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there, yeah. Like,
Yeah, which is quite similar, and the reason I've gone for that is because you have to have the cattle first and foremost to be able to achieve things. And then we needed that little bit of extra, which we've just kind of spoken about with Eddie, to add to that. So yes, a big part of it was the players we have, because if you have a load of players that aren't good enough, it doesn't matter if you have the best coach that ever lived to a certain degree.
So who was taken out? Who was left out from 15 to 16, so World Cup to the fresh start?
Well, Sam Burge left, didn't he? Apart from that, who?
Brad,
wasn't
maybe.
many,
Brad
was there?
didn't play again. Brad Barrett.
Did he not?
But like I think one thing Stuart was really good at, he got good people in the room. He got good lads that were willing to work hard. And we suffered some fairly big heartaches in those few years, losing that Grand Slam game in Wales. So there was a lot of lads that were hurt and carrying some scars, which I think really helped us with that drive. And it was almost then the perfect recipe of Eddie was the guy that took a team that had had a bit of failure, had some scars, bigged us up massively, made us work incredibly hard, got us to believe in ourselves. So yeah, I think we owed Stuart an awful lot. Fortunately, the World Cup didn't go right, and so many things went wrong. But
Yeah,
he got good people in the room that wanted to play for him.
When he came in, his big thing was setting those foundations of the culture. You know, understanding what it meant to play for England, maybe bringing in some guys, maybe like myself, that hadn't had that opportunity before, who were really hungry to do that.
One of the things you touched on, you said about success can be seen in different ways.
Yeah.
Perhaps Stuart's regime, 2015, to the outside world was deemed as a failure.
Yeah.
Stuart's tenure was deemed as a failure, but he left the squad in a brilliant way, didn't he?
He left some really good foundations for someone to come in and
He did
add
some
that
brilliant things. He really did. Like his work behind the scenes to get the country supporting the team again and the lads to realise what it means and who you're representing. That was amazing.
Yeah, like even when we lost, like you could see how much it meant for us to play for England and how much it hurt, and you could see in the way we played in those, I guess, that unseen work off the ball, how we were physical and quite gritty and gnarly and hard to beat, even when we did lose. That came off the back of having that good culture environment and understanding what it meant again to play for England that he set up. And then there's the whole the thing around the trauma piece, when you have a bit of trauma and what that leads to. That was a big thing of that 2015. Going through that trauma was just such a big disappointment and missed opportunity, and how sad and stuff we felt, disappointed, and how much we were getting abused in the press and social media, and how that played on us all, and how we wanted to turn that around. That whole trauma piece has a big impact on a group of players, and then that can lead to success. You hear all the time in sport that initial trauma individually or as a collective team, which then leads to something great.
That was fascinating, debatable. Thank you very much, Brownie. Thanks, DC.